Is separate body armor really the right choice for you? That's the answer you're gonna get on this video, and forgive me here because we have a lot of topics to go through, and I just put a list in here so you have an overview right from the beginning to understand that's quite a complete video and it's gonna answer a lot of questions. So we're gonna cover impact protection, abrasion protection, is it comfortable to wear? How easy is it to put on and put off? Does it make it harder for you to change other clothing that you're using? And does it impact the sizing of your jacket, your jersey? Is that going to be impacted? Should you wear this directly against your skin or on top of another layer? When you're sweating, does it make it harder for you to put it on and off? And since you're sweating, does it start to stink? We're going to cover that. And if it does start to stink, after how long? Can you wash it, and how easy is it to wash? Is it good for hot weather riding? Is it good for cold weather riding? Is it good for rainy days? And for what type of riding is recommended for? For instance, road riding, adventure, off-road riding, daily trips, multiple days on the road, multiple weeks on the road, and let's call them multiple months round the world type of trip. How is it to wear it when you're not riding and when you are riding? So you can see in here we have a lot to cover, and to make it very convenient for you, I have put chapters here on YouTube, so you can just jump around. If you want only the answer for a specific topic, you can go straight to the answer that you want to get. And after we go through all of these points, then I'm also going to share my personal opinion and tell you if I'm going to be keeping this, will I keep separate body armor or will I be back to integrated body armor? Now, my experience and how I'm going to share my opinion on this video is going to be about the LEATT Body Armor 5.5. Now, just to make it clear, I paid for this with my own money. I bought it second hand. I paid only 90 euro. That's about $100 for this set. And I can tell you, I saw a lot of guys selling used equipment, second-hand equipment, which is an indication to me. I can't be 100% sure, but that's an indication when you see a lot of people selling a product that maybe was just the wrong choice. And I can see why, because there's a lot to consider. So if you're thinking of buying exactly the same one, the LEATT 5.5, this video is going to be perfect for you. It's pretty much a review of the LEATT 5.5. But even if you're thinking about a different brand, a different type, the idea is the same. Separate body armor versus integrated body armor. And very important that you keep this in mind throughout this entire video. Everything that I'm gonna tell you in here is just relative to integrated body armor. So this means that when I say that separate body armor offers, for instance, better impact protection compared to the average, compared to most integrated body armor, this is relative to each other. I'm not saying that integrated body armor is bad. I'm just saying that relative to it, this one might be better. If you're watching this video, probably you already know what I'm talking about, but in case you don't, here I have a jacket that has integrated body armor, and that's the separate body armor, so I would have to put another layer on top. That's what we are comparing. How is it to take off? Well, so let's do it live so you can see it. So first thing, you're going to have this kidney belt, so that's straightforward. Then the next point, you're going to have the protectors for your ribs. That's also straightforward. Now the next point, we're going to unzip here from the side. So just take it here, unzip it from the side. Okay. So this part here so far, it's very easy. That's where for me now it gets a bit annoying. You're going to undo the straps here on your forearms, and now we have to gather off Okay, so there you have it. We are out of it completely, and it has taken what, about 30 seconds, so that was quite easy. But now here comes the catch, and that's one of the topics that I have to cover. Does it make it harder when you're all sweat? And yes, absolutely it does. It changes a lot. So I was able to do this extremely fast here now, but in practice, when I was riding and it was at the end of the day, or if we stopped at a restaurant and I wanted to take it off, it takes a bit longer. Now, when I say a bit longer, it might be 1 to 2 minutes. So it's not a lot of time, but I can promise to you that when you're there and all your friends are with their integrated body armor, they just get to the restaurant, zip the jacket off, put it, and they're sitting down on the table. It feels much longer, okay? But actually it's not that long. It's 1 to 2 minutes, so you just have to remind yourself, hey, this is just a couple of minutes, it's not that long. but it is substantially longer than a jacket, even though it's not going to affect your day. So the next point is how easy it is to put it on. So you start here with the arms, and when you're putting on, you have to be a bit more careful because you want to position the protectors in the right place. So I'm always double checking, is this in the right place? Strap it down. Then I'll do the same here for the elbow. And then where you have here the bend on your elbow, you have to make sure that nothing is folded, catching your skin, otherwise it's going to be uncomfortable. Move to the opposite. Okay, so once you get your sleeves on, then you're going to zip it. Then we go for the kidney belt, and finally for the rib protectors. So it takes a little bit longer to put it on, and everything that you're seeing here, this is best case. Okay, this is really the best case, because when you're sweating, it takes a bit longer. It's always going to take a little bit longer. Hey, I hope you're enjoying the video, but let me just ask 30 seconds of your time in here to talk about royamoto.com. That's right, that's the website where we have available toolkits for several motorcycle models. So this toolkit is exactly what I use when I'm out traveling. So for the Honda CR F300L, that's the toolkit that I have available on the website. In other words, I'm trying to sell something that I use it myself. So if I'm happy to use it as a rider, that's why I included on their website. So if you're looking for some tools for your motorcycle, then please take a look at royamoto.com/toolkits. And even if you already have your tools, then of course you can just go for the two-roll at royamoto.com/two-roll. Now back to the video. Next question is, does it impact the sizing of your clothing? So whatever you put on top, is that going to get impacted? Well, for me, it does. For the clothing that I'm buying, it does. So here I have two jerseys. This one here, the red one, is a larger size, one size larger. And let me show to you how it is to put it on once you have the body, because that's also going to be harder. Let me get my microphone in here. Now here is where I find a problem, see? It hooks somewhere in the back. I'm not going to say that that's going to be for every model, but this one kind of hooks in there. And this here is still not right, so I always have to kind of twist it, especially on the sleeves. They always end up in the wrong place. Okay, so that's as good as it's going to sit. So there you can see it does make it a little bit harder and increase the size, at least for me, depends on the clothing that you're wearing, when you're using the separate body armor. The thing to consider is if you have something which has a zipper, it makes it much easier. The challenge is going to be for everything that you have to put it over your head. When you're wearing backpacks, and I have also done that, I was wearing a backpack on top of this, you just need to make sure that you have a backpack with a lot of adjustment here on the shoulder straps. So it's a lot more. You need to adjust them a lot more. But there you go. You can put this then on top, and that's how it looks in here. Should you wear it directly against your skin, or should you put something underneath? Well, for me, I'm always going to wear on top of my skin, and I see no problems with that. I had no problems doing that. Let me just explain to you what is my logic behind that. Part of why I went for the separate body armor is because I want maximum ventilation. So I really didn't want to have a layer of fabric against my skin. And now all of this, okay, that's going to compress against your skin. So it's just going to create a blockage against your skin. It's just layer on top of layer. And I wanted to maximize airflow. And I'm glad I've done that, because that's how I've used now for real on a trip that lasted about 2 weeks. The weather was extremely hot. We were taking temperatures above 35, close to 40 degrees Celsius. That's going to be around about 100 degrees Fahrenheit, plus minus, I don't know precisely. and I'm glad I've done like this. I also have another logic in here. If you're trying to maximize heat dissipation, or you don't want to absorb a lot of heat, the entire protector, so the entire vest, is made of black. Black is absolutely the worst color when you have direct sunlight. And so my logic is I put the body armor against my skin, because then I'm minimizing the amount of airflow blockage that I'm creating. And on top of it, I always put a collar on a jersey that you see in here, which is advisable when you have direct sunlight. Now, there are three colors that are the most advisable, without going into too much details in here. Of course, white is going to be the best one. Okay, if you don't want to absorb a lot of heat, you should put white jersey. I also have a few that are white, but they get quite dirty. The next one is going to be light gray, and the next one, which might be a surprise, is red. So the red is not because of my motorcycle, even though it's quite nice. It's because red, contrary to what the intuition would tell you, even though it's quite a hot color to see, in practice is very good to dissipate heat, because since you're seeing red, that's because most of the red has been reflected to your eyes. So the infrared part, which is the heat section of the light spectrum, this is getting reflected back to your eyes instead of getting absorbed. For instance, the color black is the worst one, the color blue is going to be a bad one, the color green, so there's a whole thing in there. So I want to cover these 2 points. One, I don't want to limit airflow, and the second one is that by having something on top that I can dictate the color, I get rid of this black and I choose something which is good for not absorbing heat. Is it comfortable on both situations, when you're riding, when you're out of the motorcycle? That's a surprise for me, and I'm gonna say yes, it's reasonably comfortable. When you put it on, okay, the first seconds or maybe the first minute, you are going to feel this thing on your skin, right? You're just gonna be, your body's gonna get quite aware there's just something there all the time. After this initial, let's call it shock there on your skin, that is just something holding on you, you forget about it. So even though as I'm talking to you right now, I pretty much do not notice. So the material, this fact that the material is just pressing against you, is very tight, does not bother me at all. And I think you're going to forget about it after the first minute. So that's quite good. When it comes to the protection, of course, you need to get the right size. And with this one, I'm quite happy. It does not limit at all my movements, at all. Okay, this is zero blockage on everything. I can really move very well on this, and it makes it quite comfortable because of that. With one exception, this is something to do with the shape of the elbow protector. I think the elbow on this specific model, I think it could be improved, because if I have my elbows like this, okay, which is not often, let's be honest here, but when I do this movement, I feel that the tip, the point of my elbow, it presses a bit too much against it. So that's the only complaint. Luckily is not when I'm like this. So in this position with the arms extended, there's no problem at all. So comfort, for me, this was a surprise and one of my concerns. I'm really fine with it. I don't think this is uncomfortable by itself. But is it comfortable when you're riding, when you're on top of the motorcycle? No problem at all. It's pretty much the same as it was comfortable when I was out. It's also comfortable when I'm on the motorcycle, and that could be standing, could be sitting down. Actually, it doesn't matter, the comfort level stays the same. Now moving to one of the main reasons why people get separate body armor, and that is the impact protection. Is it better? Is it good impact protection? Hands down, this is the best impact protection that I have ever worn, compared to, of course, integrated body armor. That has been everything I've worn until now. Now, I know you can point out that there are jackets with integrated armor that also has the higher certification standard. That's going to be the C level 2. But look, it's just not the same. Okay, so the certification only tells you if it has passed a certain minimum, and if you're above that, then you get a certification. It does not tell you how high it goes. So it could be that one product scores much higher than another one, but the label that you're going to get is just according to that certification. And I have already crashed on this. I had one crash that was actually, I was very happy that I had this separate body armor. Oh. Yeah. Just fell here on the rut. and hit my rib here on the handlebar. This incident that you have seen in there has taken place not that long, it's just about 3 weeks ago. It has taken place in Croatia. I was doing a Trans-Zero trail in Croatia, and yeah, I just hit here on the side where my ribs are. But not much. I'm glad that I had here the rib cage protectors with the body armor. What about the remaining protection? Well, of course you have the shoulder protectors. Now here that's something compared to most standard, if you don't add a chest protector, compared to most standard jackets, you have here, it's not really on your chest, okay, so here up top, because this section of plastic in here, this is for you to attach a neck brace. This is not really, this doesn't have impact protection right here, maybe a little bit, just the plastic, but that's not what the impact protection is a bit more down below. So that's more or less where my stomach starts, so here would be my belly button, so it's a bit above. This part in here, that's where you have the protector. So that's quite good. Of course, here on the ribs, so you see the coverage in there. And now on the back, I have a small complaint in here. So the lower back, okay, this section here, that's where the protection ends, okay, right here. So leaves this area without any protection, which I'm not sure what was the idea of LEATT in here. Maybe there is a reason, but I think they could have just extended this a little bit more, because I have about here a full hand in here that has no protection. Then it starts from here. See, all of this is all protected, and then it comes up to this point in here, a bit lower, because also in here that's where you attach the neck brace, so a bit lower than here, but I can go with my hands. But that's the coverage that you get. And what about abrasion protection? Well, this one is going to be limited to the points where you have the protector. So of course, if you're just sliding on top of the protectors, that's going to give you some protection. And where you don't have the protectors, then of course there's pretty much zero. Then you have to rely on an external layer that you put on top that's going to give you the abrasion resistance. So let's talk a little bit about this, even though we're going to cover more towards the end. But this is one of the weak points of having separate body armor. When you're riding off-road and you're going at lower speeds, or you're not expecting to have a slide on top of tarmac, of course this system is going to shine, because there you're more concerned with the impact protection and not so much with the abrasion protection on a slide. So that's where the system shines. The moment that you take tarmac, if you're on a highway, and if you don't have a layer on top to give you the abrasion protection, then you're going to lose a lot. And does it start stinking? Well, there's no other way to say it. Yes, with time it's going to start stinking. Now, the smell, of course, is going to depend in here. The way I put it to use, this was a 2-week trip, and around day 6, 7, that's when I already felt like, okay, I need to wash this. It was starting to get uncomfortable. Now, this is not the type of smell that, you know, it's just rotten. It's nothing like this. This is your own sweat. So the best way I could describe it, starts to get a little bit sour. Now, that was for me. Different people have different sweat, so it could be different, but it was acceptable. But I was already starting to get this feeling, oh, I want to wash this. And that's exactly what I did. I washed at this point. And this brings us directly to the next topic, and that is going to be about washing. Can you wash it? Yes, you can wash it, that's no problem. And I've done this in the middle of the trip, but it's an involved job. So this is not a 2-minute job. It's not something you just throw in your washing machine. And especially when you're traveling, you don't have all of the tools to wash it that well. So what I was doing, the hotel that I was staying, I filled up a bath, put it inside. The water was quite dirty, and I was there with my hands just pressing on it, using the shampoo, the soap that was available at the hotel, to get most out of it out. Tricky to do it. It took easily there maybe 30 minutes of me really fiddling with it, and after that you have to put it to dry. Now, this place that I was staying, unfortunately it was a rainy day, so it was not drying, it didn't dry fully, and that's not a big deal if you know you're going to get back on the road, right? If you're going to get immediately back on the road, it will dry once you start riding. That's fine. The problem is if you let if the garment is wet and you let it stay for too long wet, because there is no sunshine, it's not hot weather, then what's going to happen? It starts thinking something else. Maybe you know already the smell of clothes, that the wet clothes for too long, they pick up another smell. And this happened with me because I left it for one day. It didn't fully dry, so it started to smell a little bit like wet clothing. So you see that it's not the kind of thing that is very convenient for you to wash in the middle of a trip. Even though it's possible, you have to account for it. So if you just get to the hotel at 8, 9 p.m. and then you want to get right in the next day in the morning, I mean, this is going to require a lot of commitment from your side to focus on that, because you still have to, of course, take a shower, eat, rest, just do your own things, and you need to go full focus to get this done as fast as possible to have it ready for the next day. But it's possible to do, but it's an inconvenience. Now let's talk about the temperature where this is ideal for you to wear. So number one is going to be for when you're riding in hot weather. Is it better compared to integrated body armor? Absolutely. It definitely is. My experience has been riding at temperatures of about 38 to 39 degrees Celsius. I think that's about 100 degrees Fahrenheit, plus minus. So it's a hot day, direct sunshine. It was very hot, and I could feel, because I had a sense of comparison with the with integrated body armor, and it is better without a doubt. Okay, it is really better. Even though the LEATT 5.5, since it has so much plastic, so much protection, it blocks a lot of airflow, it's still better than riding with a jacket that has integrated body armor. So that's better. The benefits, they start once you are above, let's say, 15 to 20 kilometers per hour. That might be about 8 to 10 miles per hour. That's where we really start to see the benefits. So even at a very slow pace, if you're just riding technical terrain, you're still going to get some airflow. So that's very positive. When you go above that, 20 kilometers per hour, 30 kilometers per hour plus, then you feel a lot of ventilation. So for hot weather riding, is it better compared to integrated body armor? Absolutely, I have no doubts about this. Now let's bring the temperature down a little bit. So now we are on the range of, let's say, 20 to 25 degrees Celsius, which in general is a very good temperature. It's very comfortable to be on a t-shirt, 20 to 25. It's still no problem at all. You're going to feel very comfortable. You're not going to feel chilly. You're not going to feel cold. It's just fine. It's very comfortable. So you're going to enjoy this even more, once again, compared to integrated body armor. Let's keep bringing the temperature down. Now you're on the range of 15 degrees Celsius. This would be, for instance, on if you're riding in the evening. Okay, so the sun is already gone, the heat of the environment is already gone. There it starts to get a little bit chilly. You can still ride just with the jersey and the body protector, but it starts to get chilly, and you become aware. That was for me. I was aware. Okay, now I'm starting to get below what I would call the comfortable temperature. It starts to get a little bit chilly. When you get to 10 degrees, this I have also experienced riding at night. It's definitely cold, and that's the point where I say you now need to put a layer on top of it, or you have to add some layer somehow to help you out. Maybe with the jacket, or I'm pretty sure if I had the jacket at 10 degrees, I'll go for it. I can still go. So that's where the balance starts to shift, where the guy that has a jacket with the integrated body armor, he might just be able to go along. He doesn't need to stop. You are going to be at the point with a separate body armor that you say, I need to stop to add some protection. Below 10 degrees Celsius, then you just need to have a layer always on top. So you're going to have to think about this, and you're going to build up the layers. And that's the whole idea. Okay, I'm not criticizing the system. This is the whole point, to build up layers as you need to do that. But from 10 degrees below, this is going to be the case. Now let's move for rainy days. Can you ride on rainy days? Yes, of course you can. It's no problem at all. Just the impact on the temperature is going to get a little bit exacerbated. What I mean by that is that when you get wet, of course, the heat transfer from your body is increased. So as the air is passing through, if it is wet, it's going to get more heat out of your body. So everything that I mentioned before gets a bit amplified. So probably at around 15 degrees, if you're wet, you're already going to feel like that's at a point where I want to cover myself. And at 20 degrees, if it's raining, you might already feel like that's starting to get a bit chilly. So that's the impact of water. Of course, you can always put a rain cover on top, and that's what I recommend you to do. So every time it started raining during our trip, we would put the rain cover. And yes, just as I mentioned at the beginning, when you have to add any layer, everything gets a little bit harder. So also to put the rain cover, you're there, fighting to bring the rain cover on top of the protector, and you need to make sure that you get a rain protection that is big enough to accommodate the body armor. But there it is, you have a good range. It's definitely super recommended for the hot weather, and as it starts to get colder, that's when the integrated body armor starts to win. So now let's talk about how compatible this is with the length of your trip. Starting with a 1-day trip, so you're just going and then come back in the evening. Perfect, this is ideal. You just put in the morning, you can check the weather, it's very predictable. There are very few variables for you to account for, so you already know where you're going. Is this protection going to be suitable? How is the weather more or less? Is it going to be too cold? So this is ideal for a very short trip. I think it's absolutely no problem at all. Now, if you move to a multi-day trip, that's also fine, still okay. For a couple of weeks, that's what I've done. I got to the point of a couple of weeks. That's where for me it's the limit. Okay, I would not recommend this for around the world multiple months trip, and I'll touch to you why in a moment. But on this 2 weeks trip, couple of weeks trip in here, why do I think that's ideal? Because you are reaching the limit of when you have to wash it, where it starts to stink, where you just need a break from having this body armor on you. That's about these 2 weeks, and that's exactly what I've done. I washed it once, and I would be uncomfortable. Okay, if I would have to go on a 4-month trip, I think the inconvenience of it would start to penalize me. Now, that's a choice that you have to make. Okay, if it is a several months trip, but you're always doing off-road, you know that the risk of you having an injury due to impact it's high, then of course I would go and still choose. But most people, when they're doing this round the world kind of trip, it's not always off-road, right? This is not always hot weather, it's not always off-road, it's not only slow speed technical terrain. Then I would go for the jacket, integrated jacket. So if you're doing a round the world trip, it's just more convenient to have the jacket. It will account for a wider range of temperature difference, but you know that you're sacrificing on the impact protection. Another point is that usually on a round the world trip, you're going to have to take a lot of tarmac. Actually, it's out of your control. You can't just do everyday off-road. You're probably going to be switching, so then you gain on the abrasion resistant with the integrated body armor, lose a little bit on the separate body armor, but overall for a very long trip I would say go with the integrated body armor. And how is it to wear it when you're not riding? For instance, because this I can relate a lot to this, you stop to eat, so this be the lunch break or for dinner, so now you're out of your motorcycle. This is a big loss, and you're going to feel that, and it is annoying. So the situations that you get out of your motorcycle, and I was riding with 2 friends of mine, and they all had the integrated body armor jacket. And what is that you do? Well, you get to the restaurant, you choose your seat, jacket off, hang it over your motorcycle or over the chair, and you're ready to go. And you're going to be very fresh because you just have the t-shirt. Well, that's not the case for me. So now I get to the restaurant. One, I have this jersey on top, that I have to remove it and then get the body armor out. And as I mentioned at the beginning, it just takes about 2 minutes to remove it, right? It's not a big deal, it's only 2 minutes, but during that time, when you have to get it out and you're at the restaurant, it feels much longer than 2 minutes. It really feels much longer than that. So you just have to remind yourself, this is nothing, it's worth to remove it. And I think you will enjoy to remove it. Could you have a meal with the body armor on? Yes, of course you could, but it's not nice, right? You sit down because you want to relax, you want to have a little break, and you don't want to have the body armor while you're eating. So that's what I was doing. I was removing it every time we stopped to have anything that was a little bit, if it was just a quick coffee, no need to remove it. But if we wanted to really sit down to rest and enjoy a meal, I was going to remove it. Some restaurants along the road, they don't mind if you just temporarily get your shirt off and you have you're showing your skin. It's not a big deal. But I remember once we were in a restaurant in Croatia, that was not allowed. And I fully understand, right? It's not the fault of the restaurant. I understand they have other guests in there, and other people don't necessarily want to see a rider coming in and just showing a lot of skin while you're eating. So then you have to do it outside, or you have to go to the bathroom, and then you're just carrying all of that stuff. And of course, we have to think about all of this where you're going to put it. So if you go on a bigger table, you can just put it on the side. Otherwise, you have to also think about this. So you see that every time you have to stop, especially to eat, is going to be much more inconvenient compared to the jacket. And this also applies when you want to be a tourist. If you want to just walk around, you're always walking around with this body armor, or you have to find a way to store it on your motorcycle. If you want to remove it and you want to go just for a walk, where do you put the stuff? I mean, this is big, right? This is big stuff. If you want to put inside your panniers or your luggage, whatever you're using, this is big stuff that, and your pannier might already be full with the other things of your trip. So you see that the inconvenience is quite high when you have to stop and you just want to hang around. Now, putting all of this information together, we get to the two final questions. Is to what kind of riding do I recommend you to go for separate body armor and not? And finally, will I be keeping? Is this something that is suitable for me? So let's address the first point. If your type of riding is to be a tourist, okay, so the riding is just the means for you to move between cities, but really what you want to do, you want to travel by motorcycle to enjoy the places that you're traveling. I don't think that's the right system. You should just go with the integrated body armor. And you want to enjoy, as much as you want to enjoy being a tourist, that's what you enjoy using riding the motorcycle. So in this case, I think the inconvenience of having the separate body armor is going to penalize you too much. So think about it. Is that you? Do you like to be a tourist? Do you like to enjoy the meal? Do you like to be at restaurants? Do you like to stop, make long stops? Then I would not recommend the system. So that's the first one, is the tourist type of rider. The next type of rider is going to be the rider that only does road touring. So you don't even want to go off-road, or if you go off-road is because there was just no other way. Maybe there's a small section of gravel, but your focus is really road touring. Then again, skip the system. I don't think that's a system for you. If you want to prioritize safety when you're a road rider, then you might start looking at full body suits. You might start looking at having, of course, leather, and it's more, you have a lot of focus on abrasion resistant, which you don't get in here. So I would skip this one and just go directly for the integrated body armor. And if you want to give you the best chance in case of an accident, of course you buy the best that money can buy for you, with the best rating certificate for impact protection and abrasion resistant. But just go with the standard jacket. I think you're going to be happier. Now we start to move towards the riders that they're doing 50-50, okay? And this would include me to a big extent, even though I want to avoid as much as possible riding on tarmac. I live in Austria, and here we have very limited roads with where off-road is legal. So I am forced to always ride a lot on tarmac, and then I get to the off-road, and then I can enjoy myself there. But I'm forced to do this split. If you know that you're going to be riding around about 50-50 off-road and on-road, then I would look at the weather. If you know it's going to be very hot, well, then you take the external body armor, and you have to still take in consideration to put some kind of a layer in there for abrasion resistant, because then when you do get to the off-road, you're going to have a lot of fun. So you're just about on the edge. So you have to look at the other variables. If your focus is on riding, okay, your focus is not to be a tourist type of ride, even though you're doing 50-50 off-road and on-road, but you don't care about being a tourist, you just want to focus on the riding, then I would go for the separate body armor. But if your focus is on being a tourist, you're going to ride 50-50, but at the end of the day, you want to be a tourist. Or maybe for lunch break, you want to be a tourist. Then I would go for the integrated body armor. So that's where I would recommend, when the type of terrain that you're riding is 50-50, look at the other variables, and then you can choose what makes more sense for you. And then finally, the last one is going to be the 100% off-road. Now, if it is 100% off-road, then that's where the system is going to shine the most, especially if it is, as I mentioned here, hot weather. That's where it's going to shine absolutely the most. And now the last question is, will I be keeping the external body armor? I'm going to be keeping it. I'm quite happy with it. And the reason why I'm going to be keeping it is because then I'm going to have two systems. I have the integrated jacket already. That's what I've had for a long time. And I also have the external body armor. So in the end, this would be what I consider to be the optimal solution, because then you can choose based on what you're feeling, what you want to do, what you're going to pick. For the types of trips that you're doing here now, the Trans-Zero Trail in Europe, or could be the BDR in the United States, I think that's where the system is going to shine. then if you have it, when you're going to do that trip, you take your separate body armor. That is my take on separate body armor versus integrated body armor. I really hope that this video has been useful to you. I tried to pack a lot of information in here, but if you still have any questions, please do leave a comment down below. I'll be very curious to know your opinion. Also, if you disagree with me. That's it, guys. Ride safe. Bye-bye.